Tonight you will try to sleep for 8 hours in one unbroken block. And if you wake up in the middle of the night and can't drift back off, you'll probably feel a flicker of worry that something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. For most of human history, waking in the dead of night was not a problem to fix. It was simply part of the night. Your ancestors did not sleep the way you are trying to. They slept in two separate shifts, with an hour or two of quiet wakefulness in between, and they had a name for it. By the end of this, you'll never think about your 3 a.m. wake up the same way again. Because the normal night of sleep you are chasing may be a modern invention, only a couple of centuries old. Start with the evidence, because this is not a cozy legend. It comes from a historian named Roger Ekirch, who spent years digging through old diaries, court records, medical books, and literature from across Europe. And he kept tripping over the same strange phrase, again and again. Writers casually mentioned their first sleep and then their second sleep, as if everyone knew exactly what that meant. Not a metaphor, a schedule. And this was not one village or one country. Ekirch tracked the same two-sleep pattern turning up across centuries and across Europe, in English, in French, in Italian, in the diaries of ordinary people, and the pages of famous writers. It surfaces in Chaucer, it surfaces in the tales collected long before electricity. The phrases first sleep and second sleep appear so casually in so many places that historians had read right past them for generations, never realizing they described a completely different way of spending the night. Here is how the night actually worked. People went to bed not long after dark because darkness was cheap and light was expensive. They slept for a few hours. That was the first sleep. Then around midnight they woke up on purpose, naturally without an alarm. And instead of panicking, they simply got up into the night. What did they do in that gap? Almost everything. This is the part that stops people. In that quiet hour or two between the two sleeps, people prayed and reflected. They stirred the fire. They talked softly with whoever shared the bed. Some got up to use the bathroom or check on animals. Neighbors visited neighbors. Couples were intimate. And some doctors of the era actually recommended it then, believing the rest had prepared the body. And then, when the drowsiness returned, people lay back down for their second sleep until dawn. Two sleeps, one wakeful island in the middle. A completely different shape of night. So if this was the human default for centuries, why have you never heard of it? Why did it vanish so completely that waking at 3 a.m. now feels like a disorder? The answer, more than anything else, is light, artificial light. And the change happened fast. For almost all of human history, when the sun went down, the world went genuinely dark. A candle was a small, costly luxury. Whole evenings were shaped around the absence of light. But as street lamps spread through cities, and then gas lighting, and finally the electric bulb, night stopped being off limits. Suddenly you could push your bedtime later and later. The evening became something to fill, not something to escape into sleep. And the long, patient night, with room for two sleeps, got squeezed from both ends until the gap in the middle simply closed. There was a mental shift too, and it was just as powerful. As clocks and factories and schedules took over life, time became money. Those wakeful hours in the middle of the night went from being a natural, even sacred pause to being wasted time, a problem, a sign you were doing sleep wrong. Within a generation or two, a habit that had shaped human nights for centuries was not just abandoned. It was forgotten so thoroughly that its return started to look like a medical condition. But here is where it stops being history and starts being about your own body. Because there is an experiment that suggests the old pattern never really left you. It is still in there, waiting. In the early 1990s, a sleep researcher named Thomas Ware ran a study at the National Institute of Mental Health. He took a group of people and did something simple but radical. He gave them long nights of darkness, 14 hours with no artificial light, the way a human might have experienced winter before electricity. No screens, no lamps, nothing to do but rest in the dark. At first, starved of the sleep most of us carry, they slept in long blocks. But after a few weeks, something remarkable happened. Their sleep reorganized itself. They began sleeping in two chunks, with a stretch of calm wakefulness in the middle of the night. Without being told a single thing about history, their bodies drifted straight back into the two-sleep pattern Ekirch had found in those dusty old records. The old night rebuilt itself, on its own. And that wakeful middle was not restless or anxious. Vare found the people in it were in an unusually calm, meditative state, their bodies quietly releasing more of a hormone called prolactin, the same one linked to the deep contentment of rest, the one that keeps a hen calm and settled as she sits on her eggs. It was not insomnia. It was peace, chemically. Their ancestors, waking into that same soft-edged calm night after night, would have recognized it instantly. What we now experience as a frightening interruption, they experienced as one of the most tranquil hours of the day. So sit with what that means for you at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling. That jolt of dread you feel when you wake in the night, the racing thought that you are broken, that tomorrow is ruined, that you have to fall back asleep right now, may be doing you more harm than the waking ever could. Because the more you panic, the more alert you become, and the harder sleep gets. You end up fighting a rhythm that, for most of human history, nobody fought at all. The problem may not be that you wake up. The problem may be that you have been taught to treat a normal wake-up as an emergency. Now, this does not mean the old way was secretly better, or that you should tear up your schedule and start living by candlelight. Modern life runs on morning alarms and packed days, and consolidated sleep genuinely suits that world. Many people sleep through the night just fine, and that is real too. The point is not to romanticize the past. The point is to loosen the grip of a single rigid idea, the belief that 8 unbroken hours is the one true way to sleep, and that any deviation is failure. Because that belief itself is young, it is not written into your biology. It is a habit, shaped by light bulbs and clocks and factory shifts, dressed up as a law of nature. The 8-hour block you are chasing tonight is not an ancient birthright. In the long story of human sleep, it is the new arrival. And the two-sleep night is the old, deep pattern underneath it. So tonight, when you climb into bed and try to sleep straight through, remember what your body is quietly holding on to. And if you wake somewhere in the dark hours, heart calm, mind drifting, don't reach for panic. You are not malfunctioning. You are not the only one awake in the history of the world. You are simply standing for a moment in that quiet island between two sleeps, where nearly everyone who ever lived once stood before you.